Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Apologize for keeping you waiting a few extra moments, but we will begin our final budget hearing of the year with the traditional calling of the roll.
Bloom.
The necessary calling of the roll. Here.
Campos. Gordon. Here. Logue. Patterson.
We have a quorum, and we'll begin with the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
No, I'm sorry. Move the consent calendar.
We have a motion and a second.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Aye.
Logue. Patterson. It's 3-0.
Okay, we're off to a rough start. Let's move right into the vote-only calendar. And I think we can just move through these one by one, probably. So, issue 1.
So this is the amendment. So
We have a recommended amended motion that is to, on this item, to adopt placeholder trailer bill with an 18-month sunset on the moratorium and a report from Caltrans on the adjustment.
if I might address that, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
My thinking is that I have no problem with us asking Caltrans and the Department of Parks to look at the balance in the fund used for off-highway vehicle activity. So looking at the trust fund, seeing, the rate of accumulation, whether that's we got the appropriate dollar amounts there. So I'm supportive of that. I would like, though, to make sure that they've come back to the legislature with that information, that we make a decision about any changes to the allocation, and then I'd like to give them some time frame to do that within, so that the proposed moratorium is not dragged out at any length of time. And if the language I think that staff had worked, which would include a role for the legislature and provide an 18-month time frame as an amendment, is something I could support.
Great, thank you. So,
and I'd make a motion to that effect.
Thank you. I'll second the motion. Let's vote.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Aye.
Logue. Patterson.
All right, we'll hold that item open. Issue number 2, Department of Motor Vehicles. That's the driver's license issuance issue.
I would move the placeholder trailer bill language, the staff recommendation.
Second. Let's vote.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Aye.
Logue. Patterson.
Thank you. We'll hold that one open. Issue number 3, expansion of the HOV sticker cap for electric vehicles. We have a amended motion on this one as well. That would be to adopt placeholder trailer bill language with a cap of 10,000 additional stickers under the program.
With the proposed amendment and actually giving us a specific amount rather than leaving this wide open, I would move the amended language putting a cap of 10,000.
Second. Yes. Vote, please.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Aye.
Logue. Patterson.
All right, that one passes. And our next issue is number 4, high-speed rail operations funding.
Move the recommendation to approve as budgeted and adopt the May revision proposal.
Second. Roll call, please.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Aye.
Logue. Patterson.
Hold open. Issue number 5, Liberty Canyon Highway 101 Intermountain Wildlife Crossing Structure.
Move the staff recommendation.
Second? Roll call, please.
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon,
Aye.
Logue, Patterson.
Hold open. Issue number 6, Fresno Proposition 42, maintenance of effort. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll pass this for the moment. We'll come back to it at the request of Mr. Gordon. And that will take us then into issue number 7, Energy Conservation Assistance Act Program Loans. Good morning, Madam Chair.
I would, hi. So, issue number 7, let me move the staff recommendation to appropriate $50 million in general fund for loans.
I'll second that. And we'll have a roll call vote.
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon,
Aye.
Logue, Patterson.
Hold open.
On call.
We'll put that on call. In fact, all of the ones that I said hold open, we will put on call. We are off to a rocky start. At least I am. Issue number 8. That would be the lumber product assessment retailer reimbursement. We have some public comment on that issue. If you do have public comment on issues, please notify the sergeant.
Mr. Chair and members, Chris McKaylee on behalf of the Humboldt Redwood Company and Mendocino Redwood Company. We do support the staff recommendation. We think it's consistent with AB 1492 from 2012, with which we were actively involved. We worked with the BOE in 2012 and 13 to raise the original amount of the retailer reimbursement from $250 to the current $735. So we think that by codifying that, it protects funding for AB 1492 and helps retailers. I would note it's 3 times the amount of the original reimbursement level. Also, the industry is supporting AB 2031, which this House passed unanimously last week, that exempts small retailers who collect or make less than $25,000 in annual sales of lumber products. There have been, unfortunately, some other proposals to substantially raise the amount of retailer reimbursement, which we think would effectively gut the AB 1492 funding program. And so we think that the issue ought to be settled by adopting the staff recommendation. Thank you.
All right, we'll pass that item and move on to number
9.
number. Let's take collectively issues number 17 and 19. '17 is the Beverage Container Recycling Fund Reform Phase 2, and 19 is the California Animal Health and Food Safety Laboratory. Is there a motion? Thank you, Mr. Gordon. We're on, we jumped forward to issues 17 and 19. I called them collectively. That's the Beverage Container Recycling Fund Reform, and 19 is California Animal Health and Food Safety Laboratory. Correct.
So I would move the staff recommendation on issues 17 and issue 19.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Bloom,
Let's vote. Aye.
Campos, Gordon, Logue, Patterson. It's 3-0. That's out.
That one is out, has passed. And now we're back to issue number 8, the lumber product assessment retailer reimbursement. Is there a motion?
I'd move the staff recommendation.
Second?
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon,
Aye.
Logue, Patterson.
All right, Patterson not voting.
The item's still open.
Issue number 9, environmental justice grants.
I'd move the staff recommendation.
Second?
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon, Logue, Patterson. That item's open. 2-1.
Issue 10, mapping mines in California. And,
Sorry?
this is a proposal, by the way, that comes to us from the Senate and would conform us with their action. The approval is for the approval request is for $100,000 for 3 years to purchase Mine Tracker software.
Move the staff recommendation.
Sounds like a video game, Mine Tracker. I'll second that.
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon, Logue, Patterson. That item's open.
Issue number 11 is the fire protection pilot project.
LA County.
Do we
I'll-
have,
I'll
is there
move-
public comment on this item?
No.
Issue number 11?
I'll move the item so that we can get to a vote.
All right, I'll second it.
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon,
Not voting.
Logue, Patterson. That's 1-1. That item's open.
Issue number 12, marijuana-related enforcement. We have some public comment on this item?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Chris McKaylee again on behalf of Humboldt and Mendocino Redwood Companies. We raised concerns with this item at your April 23rd hearing where you put the matter over. I think we agree with the staff comment that it doesn't fit neatly into any of the funding tiers. We believe that a co-equal goal of AB 1492 is achieving efficiencies and transparency with the department and are still anxiously awaiting the January 10 report. But in the meantime, we do support the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Nina Kapoor with the California Forestry Association. While we were very pleased to see the initial proposal to establish a task force to combat the very serious issue of marijuana cultivation and the resulting environmental degradation where it is illegal, as primary stakeholders on AB 1492, we were also very concerned about potential impacts to this funding source. We'd like to thank the administration and the staff for developing this compromise proposal that would instead create a loan that would keep the Timber Regulation Fund whole and also establish the task force in a much more effective manner that would grant administrative fee authority in this specific case. Thanks so much.
Thank you. The recommendation on this item
Move the
is,
staff report or staff recommendation.
which is to approve as budgeted and use placeholder trailer bill language. Welcome, Ms. Campos, and we'll vote on that now.
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon,
Aye.
Logue, Patterson. It's 4-0. That item's out.
Issue 13 is coastal access enforcement trailer bill language.
Move the staff recommendation.
Vote.
Bloom.
Aye.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Aye.
Logue. Patterson. It's 3-0. That item's out.
Issue 14, Kings Beach.
Move the staff recommendation.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Aye.
Logue. Patterson. It's 3-1. It's out.
Issue number 15 is the groundwater management trailer bill.
Move the staff recommendation.
15. No, we just did,
There's a question over there. Or number 15, yeah.
right, we have not done 15. Right, we did 14. Is that what you're asking? Okay. So number 15, the groundwater management trailer bill,
It's been moved and seconded.
and we have a motion and a second. Thank you. Let's vote.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon. Logue. Patterson. It's 3-1. That's out.
Issue number 16 is Regional Drinking Water and Wastewater Plan for Salinas Valley. Yes, do we have, are you making a motion? Thank you. I'll second that. Let's vote.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon.
Not voting.
Logue. Patterson. That item's open. Oh. It's on call. On call.
It's contagious. Issue number 16. Excuse me, we just did 16. And we have covered 17 previously, so we're on 18. That is the Local Conservation Corps funding diversification. This is a staff proposal that was crafted in coordination with the administration that had been an element of the bottle bill reform. In fact, it might have been the only thing that there was common ground on, but the purpose is to ensure that the Conservation Corps is protected from proportional reductions and uncertainty in the future. And so the proposal creates a new section for them within the program to ensure that the Corps are not subject to proportional reductions going forward. It also proposes to diversify the Conservation Corps funding by replacing $7.5 million of existing beverage container recycling fund grants from other sources.
Would move the staff recommendation on issue 18.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
Bloom.
Aye.
Campos. Gordon. Logue. Patterson. 18.
18. 18, the Local Conservation Corps funding diversification.
That's 4-0. That item's out.
And we previously voted on issue 19. That takes us to our final item, issue 20, the railroad safety oil transport. This is, has a staff recommendation that would send the issue to conference to iron out discrepancies between stakeholders and the PUC. There's also serious concerns that have been raised by the projected dramatic increase in rail shipments of oil by rail. Moving the item to conference is intended to allow more comprehensive discussion of the rail safety concerns and the appropriate level of state response.
I'm comfortable with the staff recommendation. I'm not comfortable with the full request that the PUC has made here. They've got 2 vacant positions currently that haven't been filled. I really want to understand the relationship between the additional request and what they're currently doing. But there isn't time to resolve that today. The staff recommendation would allow it to move to conference committee and let there be further work on this, and I hope that that work would actually not result in all of those positions being allocated. But having said that, I would move the staff recommendation so that this can move to conference committee.
Thank you, and I think that your comments and the concerns of the committee will be noted as this moves into conference, assuming the item carries.
And I will
Ms.
second
Campos?
it, and I will not repeat the comments that my colleague already stated, but I share similar concerns and look forward to it being resolved in conference.
Thank you. We have public comment?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Juan Acosta on behalf of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway. In addition to a lack of analysis on the justification for the positions requested as part of the BCP, we'd hope that the committee and staff and the PUC in particular would provide some measure of accountability for the positions they currently have, because they have about 38 to 40 railroad inspector positions, including the ones that Mr. Gordon mentioned, the vacant positions. They've got a total of 54 folks who work in various positions in terms of analyzing safety risks on the rail, but there's an absolute lack of analysis, and we'd hope that the analysis that's done in the interim before the budget is closed out on this item includes some measure of accountability for all those positions. We're not really sure what we get per dollar spent for all those inspectors that are currently housed at the PUC Rail Safety Division.
Thank you. And of course, our zero-based budgeting going forward should assist in that regard, but I would hope that the PUC is listening, and as we go into conference, that those concerns will be taken into consideration. Yes.
Hi, good morning. Lisa Stark, representing Union Pacific Railroad. Just building upon what my colleague said is, the railroads do fund all of the rail safety inspector positions. We do that at about $6 million a year right now between both railroads. We're not opposed to adding inspector positions overall, but we do want there to be a comprehensive analysis of what is actually needed. And so we do appreciate staff's recommendation on this to have a more comprehensive look at exactly what's occurring now and what may be needed from a more comprehensive standpoint. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, we have a question, Mr. Patterson,
Just
or a comment?
reiterate the same kinds of concerns from Member Gordon, and I think the lack of specificity with respect to the language and what's in front of us, it troubles me just a little bit. It's kind of vote it through and trust that the concerns are raised. Do I understand that the railroads are generally satisfied with this process, or is this too weak a response? And don't have a lot of time here for this, but in taking a look at this issue, I looked at what New York was doing. New York is inspecting as much rail traffic, if not more, with a huge fewer number of inspectors and the like, and so I just been looking at this and asking why all the inspectors, when you've got 50 some already, and when other states do a lot of inspecting of oil and rail safety and all of that with a tenth of the numbers. So somewhere there needs to be some explanation on this, and I don't know whether passing through this staff recommendation gets to the level and the degree of the discussion necessary for this.
Well, Mr. Patterson, I think the answer to your question ultimately may depend on what the Public Utilities Commission can provide in the way of analysis and data and real information. But you raise an important point. There are a number of other states that have taken measures in response to real concerns over moving crude oil by rail. And these are states that actually receive crude oil currently in numbers and volumes that are significantly higher than what we have here currently in California. Currently, we're less than 1% of all the oil brought into the state. So notwithstanding the Energy Commission forecast that we're going to be 25%, which would be a 2,500% increase in less than a year and a half, that's not going to happen. But in the meantime, sort of this ready, shoot, aim approach to regulating rail safety
Right.
puts California in the position of being alone.
I'm going to stop because
Okay.
I don't think this is the proper time to actually engage and have a debate on this, and I would feel compelled to allow both sides to speak on the issue if we were going to do that. But I think the issue's been raised, and I think we're in a bit of a conundrum here, not knowing exactly what the right number is of inspectors that are needed. The PUC is asking for an increase. We have criticized the PUC. They have been criticized in analyses that have been done over the culture of safety. This is responding to a safety issue. So I think that there are some important and deep issues here. They will be, I am confident, worked out over time, but I don't think we're going to be able to bring it to a conclusion or bring the discussion to a conclusion here today. So I think the issues are noted, and we should move forward on a vote on this item.
Appreciate the comments, Mr. Chairman. I was just trying to get some degree of clarity as to whether or not the reason for the recommendation actually achieves dealing with the facts that are in dispute. I want to vote for this, but I want it to be a real connection with the real issues.
Understood.
And I hope that will happen.
I certainly think you're raising an important issue. I just don't think we're going to be able to wrestle it to the ground and resolve it today. So we've got the issue out there. It's going to move to conference, assuming the votes are there, and that's a good place for it to be. Let's vote. Did we get a motion in a second?
Yeah.
We have a motion from Campos and a second from Gordon.
However you want.
Yes.
Bloom,
Aye.
Campos, Gordon,
Aye.
Logue, Patterson. That's 3-0. That item's out.
And why don't we roll back the clock now and call the roll again and on behalf of Ms. Campos.
So we'll go back to this issue. Off-highway vehicle
Issue number 1. Oh, Barb.
vote only item. On the vote only calendar, issue number 1, Campos.
Aye.
That's 3-0. That item's out.
3-1.
3-1. Excuse me. 3-1.
And that, you didn't do consecutive.
We'll do that.
She can just add because it's already out. Issue number 2, Department of Motor Vehicles driver's license issuance. Campos.
It's an aye, but I want to make sure that I'm understanding that the placeholder language will serve as a vehicle for addressing the 3 outstanding issues, which is the affidavit requirement, confidentiality, and anti-discrimination. Is that correct? Then it's an aye. Thank you.
Moving to issue number 4, dealing with High-Speed Rail Authority, Department
Aye.
of Conservation. Aye. That's 3-1. That's out. Moving to issue 5, Caltrans Liberty Canyon Highway 101.
Aye.
That's 3-1. That item's out. There's no votes on this one. Okay. Issue number 7,
Aye.
with the Energy Commission ECA program loans. That's an aye. 3-1. That item's out. Issue number 8, Natural Resources Board of Equalization Lumber Product Assessment. That's an aye. That's 3-0. That item's out. Issue number 8, Secretary for Cal EPA Environmental Justice Grants.
It's an aye, and I'm glad to see that this will be benefiting communities and increasing their, hopefully, their quality of air.
That's 3-1. That item's out. Department of Conservation Mapping Mines in California.
Aye.
That's 3 votes, 1 not voting. That item's out. Issue number 11, Department of Forestry and Fire Protection Pilot Project. Campos.
Aye.
That's item is still open.
Gordon not
Gordon.
voting to aye.
Not voting to aye. That item is out. 3-1. Mr. Patterson was a no on that, right? 3-1. In the wrong place. Issue 11. I just wanted to correct my vote on that. Yep. So that's 3-1. That item is out.
Well,
We already got the votes on those. And then we have the one on
right. And how about add-ons? Do we give an opportunity to add on?
Well, we'll do that.
Okay. We passed issue 6.
Why is that?
We passed it because I'm not sure that we'll take it right after. Okay, they're still working on something.
Okay. We'll do the consent calendar.
No, not on Zooms. You get you want to call Zooms? We'll call Celine. Issue
That's number 16.
16?
On issue 16, Gordon not voting to aye.
Okay, that item's out. Okay. Want to switch? Yeah. I just need it.
Okay. We are going to move now into our items to be heard. There is only one, and it is the item that everybody's been waiting for, I suppose, the cap and trade proposal. Okay, so cap and trade. The assembly plan is obviously somewhat different than the administration's proposal on cap and trade, and we think that the Assembly's plan actually improves upon the governor's proposal and makes some changes that I hope will be welcome. One thing is that we only provide funding for 1 year at a time right now. And this will give us time to see how things work in the program and to fine-tune the program as we move forward. We've never done this before, so we should have an opportunity to ease ourselves into the program. We also need to see how the fee will be impacted by fuels next year. It's a little bit unpredictable. Even this year's revenue is different than what we were expecting. And we especially need to understand how that's reflected in the price at the pump before we lock in funding before this, beyond this year, I should say. We also update the plan to reflect the current auction levels. As I said, we think that there are additional funds available, approximately $200 million, than the governor projects. So that's something we need to understand a little bit better. The Assembly's proposal creates two competitive pots of money with most of the funds. There's a pot of money for projects performed by state entities, and we ask the state projects to compete for that funding using the same guidelines and criteria that local projects will be asked to focus on. And instead of earmarking the money at the state level, we create a competitive grant program that mirrors the local program. And we hope to get higher quality programs and higher achievement of our carbon reduction goals that way. We also modify the governor's sustainable community programs for local projects by expanding the eligible projects and increasing the funding from $100 million, which we heard from a lot of people, just doesn't go very far when you stretch it statewide, but we feel we can increase that funding from $100 million to $400 million. And we also maintain the governor's proposal for $200 million for electric vehicles and the $40 million that we've already approved for drought-related measures. And finally, on the topic of high-speed rail construction, we provide the administration with the tools to start that financing so that the project can move forward to operations and also make fully informed financing decisions in future years. To further delve into the topic of this, I've asked our staff to provide us with additional comments.